Okay, so my name's David. I'm in Orono, Maine. I'm continuing work on the Summit Project, and I'm in the home of Mark and Lynn Silk. We're honoring Sergeant Brandon Silk. Okay, so you've told me a lot of stories about Brandon, and I think I got a little bit of a sense of who he is. And there's a lot that has been unsaid, but the pieces that I do have tell a lot about him. Um, Lynn, can you tell me what it means? You told me this phrase that he said when he said,
That's right.
"Live it full and live it now."
I think that's Mark's phrase.
You want to defer that one?
Yes.
You got it, Mark. Okay, what does that mean?
Brandon was very much, he liked to fly Blackhawks, which are flat fast. He lived his life that way too. I mean, there was no pausing to smell the roses, basically. He was drive hard. He lived his life that way. He was in the military that way, and he was very much into living life to the fullest in the short amount of time he was here.
Okay, so Lynn, part of living life to the fullest was this wakeboarding story that didn't end just the way he had anticipated. Tell me how he was living life to the fullest that day.
Well, so the last time he was in Maine, 2009, we were out at a camp at Green Lake, and he decided he would try wakeboarding. And he's really athletic, so it really wasn't that hard for him. And he was going behind our boat, and he was having a great time. Then he decides he's going to jump the wake. He's going to be waving to the fans. I mean, he was really, really hamming it up. And life is good. We got the beautiful picture. And about 2 seconds later, he just crashes and breaks his nose. And
Was there blood, you think, in the water?
I
Don't
think
know.
there probably was.
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
know he straightened it himself.
Did he
and
really?
Went back for another ride.
Wow.
So he did.
That's living life to the fullest.
He
I
did.
would suspect so. Um, he was a fast runner. He played all the sports. He loved football. He did swimming. And you got to tell me the story. Whoever wants to take this story, but this awesome story, playing football and this great play that happened.
We're from Calais originally. He was raised in Calais. He always wanted to play football, but they didn't have football in Calais, so he played soccer. So when we came to Orono, he was a junior, he really wanted to play football. And his soccer coach from Calais was telling him, you really should play soccer, Brandon. It's what you do. But he wanted to play football. He was determined to show him.
No experience.
No, just watch the game on TV.
Yep.
And so he went out to the starting game of the season. He was a special teams player. The punt gets kicked off and grabs the punt, brings it back for 60 yards. And it was a really big game because it was the Orono Old Town game, which is a big rivalry. I'm from Orono High School. Mark's from Old Town High School.
Nice.
So he was really, really happy that day.
Throws 6 points on the board, just like that.
Just like that, and he sent the video to his soccer coach in Cal.
It made the local news, and it was like the play of the week, and so he got the play of the week where they announced, the one football play of the week, and so it was a video clip. It was on TV, so go out on a high point, basically.
Very cool. He was a hero in school too. Now.
And I think we told you the boy across the street is Brandon's best friend from high school. He just bought the home across from us, and he told us recently this summer that he really didn't like Brandon when he comes in. Here comes this kid, junior.
Whoa.
All the girls like, who's this new boy? Goes out on the first day of football season, brings back the punt. And he might have been striding through the halls of Orono High School with a head
a little taller.
He was like, oh, I hate this kid. But they became really
Because meanwhile,
friends.
here he is, like, working and going to practice and trying to make the big play, too.
Yeah, well, I don't know that he played football, did he? But it was more about the girls.
Of course. Which, did you tell me that's why he joined the swim team? Or in part why he joined?
Well, they do,
Yeah, right.
A lot of girls.
A lot of skin, right?
Bathing suits.
Okay, Mark,
you have... He wasn't a good swimmer, we'll leave it at that.
Well, he wasn't as a good swimmer. Okay, I got it. I think I got it. Mark, you got to tell me his favorite beer and how that relates to motorcycle riding. That's a great story.
Brandon was very much into his embracing his Irish heritage.
Yep.
My wife's side of the family, they have an Irish heritage, and the Ronan family. So Brandon got into Guinness. Lynn would make every year, or once or twice a year, would make Guinness stew. Well, Guinness comes in a 4-pack, so early on in life, Brandon got to sample Guinness because it only took 1 can to make the stew, so he had 3 cans left over.
That's great.
So, after Brandon passed away, we all got into, Brandon and I and the other boys were into motorcycles, and we always rode together. It was one of the guy events that we all spent time together in fellowship. So, and what we decided to do was we all got motorcycles after Brandon passed away, and we still go out and ride, and we all have a Guinness, and we toast to Brandon's
That's
honor.
awesome. That's awesome.
And that's one of the things we do at the end of the ride is we go, we find a spot, we all get a can of Guinness,
Yep.
and we toast to Brandon.
Maybe we can incorporate something like that. That's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. That was his favorite drink. He always went back to that. Yeah.
Mainstay,
Yep.
not necessarily drink to get totally hammered, but just the Guinness.
Yeah,
kind
like-
of embracing the history, because if you've been to Ireland, Guinness is a very historical drink.
Yep.
I mean,
Part of who he, yeah, it kind of made a statement. Brand expressed his heritage and his pride, right?
Yeah, he even wore the Irish flag on his helmet there.
Did he?
As part
State of Maine and the Irish flag.
He did.
Yeah,
So that
so-
speaks to who he is too.
Yeah.
Lynn, there's this phrase you told me. He walked to his own beat. The references to Top Gun, Danger Zone. You got to talk about that too.
Top Gun came out the year Brandon was born. It's the first movie he actually ever saw.
Yep.
He thought he was Tom Cruise. He's seen some of the pictures. He has the little flyboy hair going. But he loved that movie. I mean, I think it inspired him to go in the service. He loved Top Gun.
Yep.
Could quote it all the way through. So he decides he's going to go into the Army, becomes a crew chief, and he's waiting expectantly for his call sign.
Oh,
which,
gosh, that's right.
You know, I had some suggestions. He goes, no, you don't get to pick. The pilots and the other crew chiefs, they give it to you. So he goes in the service, he's in the Army, gets deployed to Korea, and he calls with his call sign. I got my call sign, Mom. And I said, is it Cougar?
Yeah.
He goes, no, not that. And I said,
Viper.
Maverick,
Yeah.
Viper, Iceman, what is it going to be? Mouse. He
Mouse.
was Mouse. I showed you the tag, and there is Brandon Mouse Silk, because he was always scurrying around. So I asked him if he was disappointed, and he just went with things. Brandon just went with things. So the next thing we know, he had somebody design a little character for him, Mighty Mouse, with his face on it and the cape. And,
You're kidding. That's cool.
so we have a picture of him actually in Iraq, standing on one of those it looks like a big
Wire spool.
I was gonna say it looks like a spool of thread.
Yep.
With
Wire
the cape
spool, yeah.
on, and he's
Like,
doing his
okay.
Mighty Mouse pose.
Yeah, standing on this peak.
It's a great picture.
But it was because he was scurried around. What does that mean? That's how he got it, you think?
Because they said he was just always scurrying around, running around, getting parts for his helicopter, doing this, doing that. Just
Always
he's
busy.
Fast.
Yeah. And he was a fast runner too. Okay, I got
fast,
it.
fast,
Yeah.
fast.
Always
Busy.
moving and busy,
Always
moving
got
around,
something
and
to do.
and helping people, trying to make it better, right? Let's see. I want to. Let's see. I'm going to edit some of this pause stuff that I'm talking about. Lynn, this is the last. The last question will be, Lynn, I want to ask you a question, and then I'm going to have you talk about the stone. So Lynn, you told me a great story about how he, no matter what, would try to stay in communication with his family. And can you just share the extent of that dedication
Oh,
just
he
to
was awesome
stay
about that.
communicated?
He called every holiday.
Yeah.
And he had several deployments. He was in Korea, and then he was in Iraq, and he was in Afghanistan twice. And just no matter what he had to do, if he had to cross a base, he had to walk to a phone, he had to wait for 4 hours once for a phone, he always got to a phone. Mother's Day, birthdays.
He didn't miss him.
He didn't. And we always, the one he always called was on my birthday. We always put up our Christmas tree, and we always watched the Chevy Chase Christmas Vacation.
When's your birthday? In December? Yeah.
And then we order Oriental, and he would always call at that point
Wow.
as we were putting up the tree. And,
Wow.
And so that's, he always was very, very good about calling on the
Yeah.
holidays. It was,
Very, very, very dependable that way,
yeah,
right?
in fact, the last time we spoke to him was Father's Day. He died on Father's Day night or early in the morning. Wow. So we were able to speak to him right before he went on that last
Right.
mission. He
For us,
was
that's,
dead.
that's a hard thing. You talk about the weight and the things that you carry as
Yeah.
you lose family members. That's one of the hard things for us to this day. You find yourself like at my birthday. The phone's gonna not ring, but you always wait for it because it was always like,
Wow.
we knew when the phone was ringing, it was gonna be Brandon calling, because he had that built-in bond. I mean, he knew he was gonna call. And,
Yeah. I think that's powerful for somebody who watches this or learns about the stone, is like somebody who can have an opportunity to reach to their family, and be.
He was very much. Brandon was so patriotic. I mean,
Yeah.
but family was
Number
his
one.
thing.
Yeah.
Right.
That's cool.
Very much so.
So we learned a lot about Brandon. I want Mark to tell me about the stone that you picked here for this project, and how you've given it to me to give to other hikers to hike up mountains of Maine and tribute hikes. But between the two of you, tell me how you decided on this very one, and why it's important.
I'll tell you where it came from. Lynn did the picking of the stone, but the stone comes from Green Lake in Ellsworth.
Mm-hmm.
Green Lake is a 7 mile long lake that Lynn's family owns, has a camp down there since the 60s.
And where he
And-
may have broken his nose.
But the boys spent summers at Green Lake.
Yeah.
It's where our family spent, and Lynn's family get together. It was the family cottage.
Yeah.
They boated, they swam there, they played there, and this rock comes from there.
Just countless memories from that lake, right? In the camp.
Absolutely.
It's a rocky lake. If you've been there, it is a really rocky lake.
Mhm.
And we have a cove, and it's surrounded by rocks.
Yep.
And so the boys were always out on the rocks. And this comes from actually one of the big boulders down there.
Yep.
And the boys from time Brandon was we moved from Alaska, so from the time he was 4 and got here, he would go out to this rock and drop a little hook, and there's
Wow.
a little school of sunfish there.
Wow.
And he would be so excited, the big fish he caught.
Wow. Yeah. Right.
But that rock actually once in a while will break off a piece, and this had broken off, and so we picked this one.
Terrific. Terrific. When someone touches that stone and hikes it, what do they need to know about your son?
He's like the rock.
Mm.
He was solid.
Mm.
He had some sharp edges,
Mm.
but he was reliable, dependable, and
Faithful.
yeah.
Very faithful.
Brandon, like I said, very patriotic kid. I mean, there's no way to describe it. Totally dedicated to the country.
Yep.
Even this last deployment, he was a short timer. He didn't have to deploy. And I remember the phone call, we're talking on the phone. He goes, Dad,
Because I was saying don't.
we were saying, come back, go to college, enjoy your GI Bill.
Sure. Sure.
And he's like, Dad, he goes, these are my guys. They're deploying. He goes, I'm gonna feel like crap not going. He
Right.
said, I'm going. These are my buddies.
Yep.
So he basically took an opportunity where he could have stayed back, and
Wow.
there was no staying back. He did not want to be rear D. He used to go rear detachment.
Yeah. Rear D. Yep.
Yeah, he didn't want to be rear D. He was a frontline kind of guy, and he wanted to go. And he basically, to coin a phrase, he went out with his boots on. He basically loved his job.
Way to get their movie reference
Yeah,
in there.
he did.
Secondhand
I mean,
lines.
Nice.
Secondhand Lines, favorite movie, but he
Guy with his
basically
boots on.
he basically died doing exactly what he wanted to do.
And he was with the Australians. He was medevac, and he loved medevac. It's an important mission.
Oh yeah.
And he
Saving
liked
lives.
that.
Yeah.
But this one, when he was on an attack helicopter, I remember when he told me he tried in his first time in Afghanistan to get in. That's where he met the attack guys,
Mhm.
or whatever you call them, and
Assault unit.
And he wanted in. They wanted him. They recruited him. They went over, and he's like, "Mom, it's really safer." I'm like, "Explain to me how assault helicopter is more safe than medevac." But
Yeah.
he got to fly with the Australian commandos. And
That's
they
cool.
They were doing some really good stuff. I mean, it was really important work to him, and
Yep.
he loved. In fact, one of the last missions he was on, he asked for permission to buzz the tower. You remember that from Top Gun?
Oh yes.
Permission to buzz. What did he say?
And he
Something
spills his coffee.
and he's got something about dingoes. He was saying something about dingoes on the runway, or I don't know, but he had the guys in stitches. So
Yep.
we're in contact with the Australians as well, and that's one of the things that they kind of remember was
Oh, yeah.
doing a really fake Australian. and
Nice.
Something about dingoes on permission to
Reenactment.
buzz the tower.
That's great.
Yeah.
He was very dedicated, and so when somebody hikes a stone, they need to know. And I got a sense this is terrific of who he was. Anything else you'd like to share? This is really good. Anything else?
Well, I just think it's a great project, and as we've discussed,
Thanks.
this is an opportunity for people to carry a weight, a little bit of a weight, but I just really like the symbolism.
Uh-huh.
It's something Brandon would have liked. He's not a guy that would want his name engraved on a wall. Right. I mean, then that happens, and that's nice too.
Right.
But this is more getting out and enjoying the beautiful Maine woods, being part of nature. This is much more about who he was, the kind of a memorial he would like.
Down to earth.
Brandon came back to Maine on his leaves to decompress from the horrid things that he saw when he was in battle. he always came back to the woods of Maine.
Yep.
Because you could decompress, you could
Yeah.
relax, you could, you know, get things back to normal.
Balance. Yeah.
Balance. And like I said, by them carrying this rock, basically they're carrying a piece of Brandon,
Yeah.
a living history of who he was, and understand that he lived life large. So when they're climbing Mount Katahdin, climb at a fast pace.
Yes. Terrific.
Because that's how he lived his life.
That's how he lived his life.